Well, unfortunately, just like the way Cal Raleigh is built, the Mariners offense is 90%. Guys, Justin Turner just called out his former team for not spending this past offseason. So if you don't remember, Turner was traded last year from the Toronto Blue Jays to the Seattle Mariners to be, kind of a veteran bat piece, but he actually played pretty well, putting up 1.2 B-WAR in just 48 games with the team. But the Mariners missed the playoffs by 1 game, which means they missed the playoffs for the 22nd time in the last 23 years. So Turner signed with the Chicago Cubs about 2 weeks ago now, and he just did an interview with Bob the GOAT Nightingale, and he was brutally honest. He talked about the fact like the Mariners have one of the best starting rotations in the game, but their offense can be kind of sluggish at times, and they need to sign impact bats. Like, simply put, they just need offense. Because, man, last year, their pitching staff was second in all of MLB in ERA. They had the lowest whip, lowest batting average against them. They allowed the fewest hits in baseball. They have Logan Gilbert, George Kirby, Luis Castillo, Bryce Miller, and Brian freaking Wu casually having a 127 ERA plus last year. So with the pitching staff like that, you would think they'd be a playoff team, right? Well, unfortunately, just like the way Cal Raleigh is built, the Mariners offense is 90% ass. Nightingale even talks in his article about how for the first 5 months of the season, they were the second worst offense in the league. J-Rod's power was missing the first half of the season, and the team hit a collective 214. Now, I know we don't really use the Mendoza line seriously like we once did, but when the team is barely hitting above the Mendoza line, like, something's got to change. And they kind of course corrected at the end of 2024. They gave old Scott Service the boot, and they brought in Edgar Martinez as the hitting coach, and their offense improved the final 2 months of the season. So you would think, hey, they want to build on the momentum, sign some bats, have a good offense going into 2025 with, the rotation they have. So let's see what they did. Oh, all they did was re-sign Jorge Polanco and sign Donovan Solano. Like, on God, that's all they did. Mariners fans, get ready for another 20 years of purgatory. Turner rightfully called out like, hey, Pete Alonso was right there for the taking for so long. The Mariners need a thumper, and Pete's a big boy thumper, all right. And same thing with Alex Bregman. He was out there till like a month ago when the Red Sox swooped him up for cheap. Well, not cheap, $40 million a year, but still, I feel like the Mariners could do that on a short-term deal. Like, if it's just a short-term deal, like, it's good. After like 2 years, he's off the books. Nightingale also mentions Juan Soto, but come on, I think that's a little too ambitious of thinking right there, Bob. And Turner even admits in this interview he wanted to go back to Seattle. He fell in love with the city and the people, and it sounds like the Mariners were trying to lowball him to bring him back, so he just signed $6 million with the Cubs. Like, come on, Mariners, $6 million, that's all it took to sign one of the best veteran players on the market who's still a very productive hitter at his age. And coming from a Dodgers fan, like, I know firsthand the leadership he brings, like, on and off the field. How much work he puts in, like, into his work and into his community. Like, he's a top 3 Dodger all time, at least in my lifetime. But you guys act so cheap, it's gross. But as much as Turner wanted to go back, he even said, quote, if I was the only piece they brought back in, I would be saying the same thing. What the hell are we doing? Are you trying? Now that's a burn right there. And speaking of burn, dude, I mean, I don't know. Mariners fans, I truly feel for you guys. I mean, you're stuck with the GM who said they aim to win only 54% of their games, and you're stuck with cheap ownership. Like, Jerry Dipoto has been there for 10 years trying to fix this mess, but they've only made the playoffs once. Like, it's one thing if they were making the playoffs here and there, but like I said in the beginning, if you've only made the playoffs once in the last almost quarter of a century, there are some serious changes that need to be made.